Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There are three types of people who are sick. S-I-C-K. One type of person is sick but doesn't know it. Think of someone from our Shastras who is sick, but they just don't know that they're sick. Ravana. Ravana is sick, but he doesn't know it. He doesn't accept that he is sick. And so you can't help such a person. Even in the last evening before Ravana was killed, then Bhagavan Rama said, just return Mother Sita and I'll leave. But even that he wasn't willing to do. The second group of people, we'll turn it down. It's vibrating a lot here. Thank you. The second group of people is sick and knows it. Now, when you're sick and you know it, what do? You seek help. And who in our Shastras is a good example about that? A little bit lower. I'm still hearing the vibration. Thank you. I'll speak louder if I need to. This is nothing. Arjuna. Arjuna was sick. He knew it. And so he went and got help. There was Bhagavan Krishna. And the third type of person, their relationship with sickness, is that they don't allow themselves to become sick. And the example of that from our scriptures, Sri Lakshmana. His mother told him where Bhagavan Rama is, that is Ayodhya, so he went. His mother told him, I'm not your mother, Mother Sita is your mother, and he treated her that way. He never allowed himself to become sick. Now, whenever I give you such frameworks, what are you supposed to do with them? Use them to judge people. Find out who you are. Since we're on this idea of frameworks and threes, there are three types of learners. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes. They don't have to go through each experience. Ordinary people learn from their own mistakes. They have to go through an experience and learn from it. And who's the third type? Foolish people don't learn from any mistakes. Not their own, not other people. So what should you do with this framework? Look in the mirror and say, foolish. And there's 3 types of listeners also. When people come to such discourses, there are 3 types of people. The first type is called a shrota, someone whose mind is filled with calmness, sattva. What does shrota mean? Someone who listens. Not just hears, but they listen. Second type of people, sotas. What does sota mean? People who come and they sleep. The mind is filled with tamas, or laziness. And I don't know if I described, like, this is the perfect environment to sleep. Steady back, dim lighting, soothing voice. And only when people make some commotion, you wake up. Yeah, I had so much peace during the last 90 minutes. And the third type of listener is a sarota. A sarota, we used to see a lot, but we don't see anymore. For all of the people who lived in an apartment when you first moved to this country, every home you went to, at least my observation, had a thick crystal bowl. And what was inside that thick crystal bowl? Walnuts. And what was in that walnut bowl? That cracker. Do y'all remember? Now we don't, because Costco does it for us. A sarota is a cracker, a nut cracker. And when the speaker speaks, if someone's a sarota filled with rajas, with aggression, I don't believe that. Prove it. What makes you right? So we have these 3 types of listeners also. What we are doing is we're trying to be Sri Lakshmana when it comes to being sick. We're trying to be wise when it comes to mistakes. We're trying to be the shrota when it comes to listening. All of this is a proactive strategy. In medicine, we spend so much on reactive medicine, but what we really need to do is spend money on preventative medicine. To help us develop this proactive strategy, we need to know what is right. And this is one of the most common questions amongst people, amongst seekers, is how do I know what I'm doing is right? What program, what career, what spouse, what parenting strategy, what city to live in? We just don't know what is right. The world is so gray for us. When you can't hear your own inner voice, what should you do? What does WWW stand for? I know. That's at a worldly level. At a philosophical level, what does it stand for? What would the wise do? What would the wise do? If you can't hear your own inner voice, let a wise person's voice guide you. And in our case, it is Vishnugupta, Chanakya, who should be that voice of ours. And it works. He created Chandragupta through these teachings. If we could be like Chandragupta, imagine, everybody wants to focus on serving. Make yourself Chandragupta and see how much you can serve. And the voice that Chanakya used was that of yamas. Yama, and I'm putting an S at the end. Yama means to abstain from. But he didn't just teach yamas, he also taught niyamas, which are observances. In very simple language, it's don'ts and do's. Yamas, don't. Niyama, do. This is not how Srimad Bhagavad Gita works. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is not about vidhi and nisheda. It does not teach do's and don'ts. Srimad Bhagavad Gita's message, Bhagavan says, engage in dharma. Wherever your direction is, be dharmic. So for Arjuna it was to be a warrior. If you're a student, study. It was to engage in dharma. But now so many of us study Srimad Bhagavad Gita and we don't change. Because it's not enough for us. And it's not that the content is not enough. We're not prepared for the content. Do you feel that? So that's why Chanakya is giving us more. He's saying start with the don'ts, then the do's, then dharma will become more clear. Today someone had questioned the sadhanas that I'm sharing. And I tried to explain, why these sadhanas are being given. When I was a student, and I'm still a student, when I was listening to Vedantic discourses from that side of the room, many times I felt Bhagavad Gita is wonderful, Ramayana is wonderful. And when I would leave the Yajñashala, I didn't know what to do with that wonderfulness, though. It finished in that room. And so when I started being a student on this side of the room, I made it a point that when I share a thought, to share it from art, the perspective of art, which is absolute, relative, and tactile. Same message looked at from three perspectives. So wherever the listener is, whether they're shrotas, sotas, or sarotas, they can hold on to that message, and from there you climb. So these sadhanas, I'm giving at a tactile level, which is vidhi, just do it. And if you do it, it'll start to make sense at a relative level, with people. If you do that, it'll start making sense at an absolute level with Bhagavan. So I wanted to explain that really, Chanakya has done that for us. He's already given us the yamas and niyamas. I am trying to make this even more tactile. Okay? Our first discourse, we focused on lift yourself by yourself. And I said, purpose pulls performance. And our first discourse, what was the purpose? First discourse, what did we focus on? Me. Second discourse, we. Now this discourse, he. And tomorrow morning, be. Then this morning I introduced another framework where I brought in life expectancy and changes as we age. You know the saying, wisdom comes with age. You've all heard that. What kind of people like saying wisdom comes with age? Old people. They love it. It's like their business card, Wisdom doesn't come with age. Wisdom comes with reflection. There's 15-year-olds that I've met that are so wise, and there's 75-year-olds that I've met that are so unwise. It comes with reflection. So the first discourse would have focused on being a brahmachari from 0 to 25. Then this morning's discourse focusing on being a grahastha. How old? 26 to 50. This discourse is going to focus on being a vanaprastha, which is from 50 and 1 day to 62 and a half. Very specific. Now some people are thinking, I'm only 20 years old. What does this have to do with me? One day you will be 50 years old. That's the proactive message that I'm trying to convey. Why do you think this is not about you? This is about all of us. Chinese proverb. When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. If you did it, you'd be enjoying the fruit and shade right now. And if you didn't, when's the next best time? Now. So now we will focus on this vanaprastha mentality. And I'm going to give you one more framework now. Okay? For any achievement in life, it requires kripa. What does kripa mean? Grace. And there's 4 types of grace for any achievement. The highest grace is called Ishvara Kripa, the grace of God. Ishvara Kripa is invoked by Shastra Kripa, the grace of the scriptures. Because God's voice is the scripture. God's breath, according to Ramayana, is the Veda. Shastra Kripa is invoked by Acharya Kripa or Guru Kripa. Someone who knows the Shastra, who can navigate that terrain. And now the most important part is, how is Acharya Kripa invoked? Swakripa, also known as Atma Kripa, your own grace. You need to start gracing yourself. That brings in the Guru, who brings in the Veda, who brings in Bhagavan. Please don't take my words theoretically. I was at someone's house, and when I go to someone's house, I like to see their altar. So I went to their altar and I prostrated, and this lady said, Swamiji, please bless, this room. And I just didn't say anything. Then I left the room and she said, please bless our picture frames on the fireplace. And then please bless our books. And I said, hey, auntie, bless yourself. You're asking me to bless you, but then when I leave, what happens to the blessings? You need to bless yourself. But so many teachers, so many organizations, they focus on blessings come from the outside. And then you become dependent on that, isn't it? Do you all watch Sunday morning Indian channels? Here's what I hear when I watch them. Not that I watch them, but I know what's happening. So we all have problems. And if you call a New Jersey number, that pujari will give you a yantra, this machine, and all of your problems will go away. And you see how they capitalize on our ignorance. You think that piece of copper that you paid $500 for is going to change your problems. You're more in a problem. You have less, $500 less. So keeping these graces in mind, our first discourse focused on Swakripa. This morning's discourse on Acharya Kripa. Now we will focus on Shastra Kripa. So I want you to understand this, how we're moving with this leadership. Now there's many new people today, this evening. So this morning, in our first shloka, we focused on accepting. Accepting others, accepting ourselves, but as we accept ourselves, we have to keep on growing. This acceptance of ourselves is most important. When did the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita begin? Only after Arjuna admits that he is suffering. Until he accepts that he is suffering, Bhagavan Krishna doesn't teach him. Once he accepts, you know what Bhagavan Krishna does? It's so beautiful. He smiles. And many commentators interpret it as he's smiling sarcastically. You think Bhagavan Krishna would smile and say, hey, loser. Like think, how can you even believe that Bhagavan would do that? He smiles saying, no worries. You are mine now. He calls him Tata. What does Tata mean? Son. They're the same age. You know how old they are? Guruji had told us that they're around 85 years old. And then I read another place, 60. Either way, according to us, they're very old. But see how lively they were? How old was Bhishma Acharya then? If Arjuna is 60. So, accept and grow. Our second shloka, we focused on visualize. Visualize how you want to change, how you want to grow, and then do it. Don't tweet about it. Don't post that as your status. Do it. How many of you took driving lessons? Not from your parents doesn't count as a driving lesson. I mean from a professional. Okay. What I'd learned from my driving instructor, he said, wherever your eyes are, that's where the car will go. And it sounds like, really? But like you can't separate that. I can't look this way and turn my car that way. So the same goes here with visualize. Visualize that you will move in this direction and you will move in that direction. But if you don't visualize it, you won't. In the third shloka, we studied endure. Who should you endure? All the haters. Which could be your family. Which could be the community. It took me 1 year of dialogue with my mother before she allowed me to go to the Vedanta course. And there was conditions that I had to come back. She wouldn't have allowed me to go if I didn't say that I was going to come back. And I told her, I said, you left Bharat to come to Canada for happiness. Why can't I leave Canada to go to Bharat for happiness? And you think that's good? Wait till you hear the response. What was her response? That's different. See, when I say that being in a family is real sadhana, now you get it. Right? Logic doesn't work. Endure. The best service you can offer your family, your community, is for them to not have to worry about you. Isn't it? You'd be the best child if your parents never had to worry about you. They want you to be independent, right? That's the best service you can offer to them. And why I'm bringing that up is as you endure, your family, the community, they may think they know what's best for you, but finally, you have to decide what is best for you. So you have to endure to be able to give them more. You're following me? And the last shloka we studied was know. K-N-O-W. You should know that the family and community will come into your life and the family and community will go. Guruji says, if it can asakti, it can also jasakti. And what Puja Swami Chinmaya, he used to tell his students, when you go to someone's home, tell them that you've come to leave. That's a really deep way to live, is that you've come to leave. That way, you don't get attached to them and they don't get attached to you. So accept, visualize, endure, and know. That's what we covered this morning. Now we shift to what does it mean to make He our purpose? What does it mean to make Vanaprastha? What should we do with that vision? Shastra Kripa, we're at that level now. We keep rising. I am on chapter 4, and I'm taking up shloka 2. Chapter 4, shloka 2. Sadhubhyaste nivartante putra mitrani bandavaha ye cha te sahagantaraha tadharmat sakatam kalam. So here's the literal meaning of this. Sadhu nivartante, which means you should never leave the company of sadhus, people who are engaged in sadhana, people who know what the sadhya is. But who will try to take you away from them? Putra, kids. Mitrani, friends. Bandavaha, family. When you're in satsang and your significant other doesn't want you to be there, they keep texting you, right? Food is ready, you should come home. I can't eat dinner without you. The kitchen is on fire. If that's their text, go. Ye cha te sahagantaraha, they will always want you to go. Go from that company of sadhus. But what are those sadhus helping you? Tad dharma. They're teaching us about responsibility. And dharma frees us from sakatam, from kalam, which means hardships, suffering. Okay, so this is the literal meaning. We expand. Have you ever studied the Narada Moha Prasanga from Ramayana? Okay. This is a long episode of Ramayana. In essence, Narada ji wants to be as handsome as Hari. Who is Hari? Bhagavan Vishnu. Bhagavan Vishnu is handsome. He is known as Vrikodara. Vrikodara means someone whose stomach is like a wolf. He has like 60-pack. Not a 6-pack, like a 60-pack. Vrikodara means someone who can digest anything. Bhima is also known as Vrikodara. He can digest metal. And that would be awesome. Just keep eating and eating and eating and still having that 60-pack. So when he goes to Bhagavan Vishnu and says, please bless me to look like you, dear Hariji, Bhagavan Vishnu asks him. He says, is it okay if I give you what's best? And Narada ji says, of course. Just like if you go to a physician. Now before we go to any physician, what have we done before we went to see them? Check Google, right? And you go to the physician, this is my problem, this is the drug I want. Now think of that statement. That's what you do, right? That's what a drug addict also does. But the physician's responsibility is to give what the patient needs. So Bhagavan Vishnu says, Tathastu. What does Hari also mean? Monkey. So Narada Muni starts looking like a monkey. And because of that, he doesn't get married. And then he actually curses Bhagavan Vishnu that may you get help from a monkey. That's part of the reason why Bhagavan Vishnu became Bhagavan Rama. What I'm trying to share here is that our family and community, who we just studied about, they love us. They will want the best for us, but they may not know what the best is for us. So you have to use viveka when you are interacting, when you are working, when you are living with your family and community. Viveka means listen, filter, and then follow if it is the best. And if it's not the best, then don't follow. Think about it. If my parents introduce me to such and such person and we get married, then it doesn't work out. Who is my finger going to be pointed at? My parents. I finally have to live and be married and live with this person. My parents will be their in-laws for 20 years, 50 years, but not as long as I'm going to be. The same goes with programs. That you have to be this. But what if your personality is not that type? Finally, you have to study and live that profession, right? Not your family, not your community. You should listen, but then you must use viveka. And that's what's being shared here is our family, our putra, mitra, bandhava, they will operate from their perspective. But we're looking to go higher. And what's so beautiful about all of this, if you focus on the higher, society, humanity, isn't the lower included? Think Gandhiji. Gandhiji's son didn't like the way that Gandhiji lived, correct? Gandhiji's son wanted preferential treatment. But Gandhiji, he operated that all people in Bharat are the same. He freed all of Bharat. Isn't his son included in that? See, sometimes people who are lower in vision, not importance, but vision, they can't see that which is higher. That's why I said you have to endure, and now I'm saying again, is that listen, but use viveka. The more that you live for the macro, the micro also grows in that. And that's why when you get to he knows more than we, correct? As a vanaprastha, if you've learned your whole life, then really wisdom comes with age. You know more than a grahastha. The shastra goes on forever. The guru is a name and form that comes and goes. So here is our sadhana for this shloka. Every day, as many times as possible, you should speak to Bhagavan. We're learning about he being our purpose, so speak to Bhagavan. Now, what language does Bhagavan speak in? Tamil. Bhagavan speaks with or without language. I had flown from Boston to Buffalo. It was October many years ago. And usually someone picks me up to take me to their home, and then I drive back to Niagara Falls. But that weekend, that family was not there, so I had to take a taxi to their home. And I got into the taxi, and I taught all day, and it's nighttime, and I still have to drive another hour. So I sit in the cab, and the cab driver says, "Where are you going?" I gave him the address. He goes, "I don't know where that is." And I thought, oh, I'm so tired, and now I have to deal with this. And I said, if you can get me to this area, I can get you into the neighborhood. So he says, we have a deal. And he starts driving. And I'm just kind of looking out the window, and I noticed that he keeps looking at me. I had my kurta on, my tilak on. Where are you coming from? Boston. What were you doing there? Teaching philosophy. And he says, philosophy? I have my own philosophy. Please do tell me what your philosophy is. You know, I'm saying sarcastically. And he says, every morning when he wakes up, he talks to JC. Who's JC? I'm saying JC, not Jay-Z. He talks to Jesus Christ and says, keep me safe, give me customers, and then he gets ready and he starts driving. And in between customers, he keeps talking to JC. He talks to JC about how bad the Buffalo Bills are and asks JC how he's doing. And as he's sharing this, I'm thinking, here I am giving discourses on prayer, and this person is actually praying. And then as we're about to get to his house, he's saying that, and every night before I go to sleep, I thank JC. for keeping me safe and keeping my family well. He tells me he has 9 kids and every one of them is in college or has graduated. This is a Buffalo taxi driver, not New York City or Los Angeles. Buffalo's not a wealthy city overall. And I feel like, I'm telling us to speak to Bhagavan. This person is doing it, and look at how Bhagavan looks after this taxi driver. When we speak to Bhagavan, another terminology for this is Acharya Upasana. Upasana means to sit near. See, if you sit near me right now, you'll get to see what I see, correct? If you sit near Bhagavan, won't you see what Bhagavan sees? Won't you know what is right? Even for the community and family? Because now you're identified higher. You have a higher vantage point. So speak to Bhagavan. Then I'll prove to you how intellectual we are. Be honest. How many of you, when you came into this room, you prostrated at Bhagavan Shiva's feet? They had to set up more chairs because there's more people here. But there's maybe 12 hands that went up. Because that's just a piece of marble to us, isn't it? See the intellectual acumen of ours. That's Bhagavan. Bhagavan's here too. But we can't just think about it. Which leads us to our next shloka. You're catching me? Okay, this is awakening. Next shloka. I'm on chapter 14, shloka 4. Bahunam cheva sattvanam samavayori punjayaha varshadhara dharo megaha trinerapi nivarayate. What this means is bahunam cheva sattvanam. When lots of great people come together, samavayaho, they all come together, ripuhu jayaha. When lots of great people come together, they can even be victorious against enemies. So what is this like? Varsha dhara dharo megaha. When that rain is falling hard, and we can all relate to that now this weekend. I was sharing with some of our young adults earlier. It's been raining, but when didn't it rain? During athletics. Bhagavan's looking out for us. What I also thought was hilarious is, did you watch the inaugural address? And the priest said, in our religion, when it rains, then that's prosperity for the nation. And I thought in Sanatana Dharma, if it's sunny, that's a good sign. If it's rainy, that's a good sign. There's no negativity in Sanatana Dharma. Triner api nivarayate. Like straw that comes together to make a roof, protects from that downpour of rain. Individually, that straw is very weak. But when you bring straw together, even that megha, that cloud, can't affect the people inside, right? So coming together, what does this all mean? I'm sure you've heard before. Vidyadanam, Mahadanam. Danam is being generous, charitable, in vidya. That is known to be the greatest generosity, the greatest giving. Why? Why is vidya given such importance? Because what are we suffering from? What do we need right now? We're suffering from avidya, so we need vidya. How do we know we're suffering from avidya? What does ignorance cause? Projection. What does projection cause? Attachment. What does attachment cause? Fear. What does fear cause? Anger. All of the non-angry people in this room, keep your hands down. All of us have anger management problems. All of us are afraid. All of us are attached. So in here we are saying we don't need vidya. All we need is vidya. So isn't that the greatest giving, to give people what they need rather than what you want to give them? Why do Indian people enjoy weddings? Because you get to re-gift what you don't want. But then if that statement is there on the bottom of the card, no boxed gift, that's like a dagger in our hearts. That opportunity to re-gift that is not there. So then it becomes, they invited me to their wedding and I'm inviting them to my wedding, and each person is $50, so I'll just, it's just calculative. Do we actually give gifts, or it's just we're paying for our meal in the hotel? The best gift is giving what someone needs and not what you want to give. Isn't it? So here, what will bring people together? Is it food? In Indian culture, yes. But I can make my own food. What is it that will really bring people together? It is vidya. It is knowledge. What are the three fundamental fears that every being has, other than those who are enlightened? And if you heard me speak about this, then don't yell it out. Let everyone think about it. What is one of our fears? Fear of death. Acknowledged? Next. Someone said fear of failure. Not true. Future, also not true. Change, also not true. Fear of the unknown. And sociologists will say fear of public speaking, but they're not right. Here I am telling business professors are not right, sociologists are not right, the president is not right. What is the third fear? This is almost the worst out of them. Fear of sorrow. You don't fear public speaking, you fear the failure that could come with public speaking. But that's also incomplete. You don't fear failure, you fear the sorrow that could come with failure. But imagine you become that person who focuses on effort instead of excellence. Then you delete the emotion of sorrow from failure. You become an Aryan, which becomes the master of every circumstance. Our fears are death, unknown, and sorrow. And here's the amazing part of this. What is the opposite of death? In Sanskrit, what would we say? Sat. The opposite of death is existence, or sat. What's the opposite of the unknown? Awareness, or chit. Shocking, no? And what's the opposite of sorrow? Joy, or ananda. You only fear that which is different. You do not fear that which is the same. So if you're afraid of death and the unknown and sorrow, what are you being taught by life? That your nature is Sat Chit Ananda. Now you see, when we think someone is so different, we start to call them our enemy, right? We start to set up travel bans. But if you don't think they're so different, there's no travel ban between America and Canada. Americans think that we're the 51st state. We laugh from above. But if someone is given the knowledge that we're actually not different, isn't that real coming together? Isn't that real strength? Food can't do that. Building toilets can't do that. Medical clinics can't do that. And they're all important, obviously. But it is only vidya, that we're not different, that can fundamentally bring society and humanity together. Is that our purpose? Is that what our trajectory is? It can be. And if you're really tuned into the Shastras, it should be. If you're really tuned into the vision of Vanaprastha, it should be. If you're really tuned into He, it should be. Maybe this is a reality check that we're not getting to what we should be. If everyone was exposed to Advaita, oneness, can there be lust in oneness? Are you lusty towards yourself? You look in the mirror and just keep flirting with yourself. Taking a selfie really is that. But you see, the conditions are ruthless. Did you know that wherever the Super Bowl goes, there's a huge human trafficking ring that goes with it? A huge prostitution ring that goes with it. But those people who are there for human trafficking and prostitution, what if they understood Advaita Vedanta, then really, who are they trafficking? They would never traffic themselves, right? They would never want to exert power over themselves. That whole industry would just go away. Not through legality, it's not working, but through vidya. Think about grudges. Do you hold a grudge against yourself? You don't. All the grudges we've held our whole lives would just be dismantled. This is too powerful. And that's what we need to do, is bring that into reality. And so here is our sadhana. Our sadhana is to speak. What was the earlier sadhana? Speak to Bhagavan. Now you'll probably speak to Bhagavan in your puja room. And once you leave that puja room, then Bhagavan is in the puja room, not outside the puja room, correct? Your sadhana here is speak positively. Speak positively. Now why this sadhana? Because when you speak negatively, what do you feel about the person you're speaking negatively about? How do you feel about them? That they're different, that they're separate. But if you want to practice that they're not different, that they're not separate, speak positively to them. And a beautiful secret about this is that this brain of ours, this mind of ours, only knows do's and doesn't know don'ts. Imagine a 4-year-old girl comes into this room and I stare at her and I say, "Don't touch that diya." What have I done to that 4-year-old girl? Inception. So first she's sitting with her father back there, and then she's kind of crawling to the front, and then she's just crawling up these stairs just to touch the diya, right? Because I told her, don't do it, and her brain doesn't work like that. But instead, if I say, do pay attention to all the times I use animals in my discourse, then she'll do that. So when we use negatives, when we speak negatively, it's futile. Speak positively. And who's the first person that will hear you speak positively? Yourself. There's so much cursing that people say in our music. And it seems like, back in the day, certain words that were considered curse words are not anymore. And it's just going to deteriorate into just, every time you say he or she, there's a curse word that's as regular as that. Think about the music that we listen to. I'd written a e-vichara on Vedantic swear words. Vedantic swear words. Okay? So, earlier, what is the Vedantic swear word that starts with B? Vedantic, okay? Don't just jump off with the word that starts with B. What is that word? But. B-U-T. I know I should be nice to this person, but. That's really a swear word, isn't it? And who are you swearing to? Yourself. So speak positively. I'm on chapter 10, shloka 13. Vipro vrikshastasya moolam cha sandhya Veda shaka dharma karmani patram Tasman moolam yatnato rakshaniyam Chinne mule neva shakana patram. Simple words. Vipraha vrikshaha. This tree is Vipras. Vipra means someone who's wise. Someone who is the ambassador of God. Tasya moolam cha sandhya. And the roots of this tree is God. So God is the roots and the tree is the ambassadors of God. Vedaha shaka. And what are the branches? The Veda. Dharma karmani patram. What are the leaves? The leaves are dharma, or practicing the Veda. Tasmat moolam yatnato rakshaniyam. So what should we do? Take care of those roots. Because from those roots come the wise people, from the wise people comes the Veda, from the Veda comes responsibilities. Chinne mule neva shaka na patram. That if you don't take care of the roots, there won't be any branches and there won't be any leaves. In other words, there won't be any scriptures, there won't be any responsibility. Everyone will be irresponsible. In more detail, I had heard Guruji share, some people wake up and say, "Good morning, God." And then some people wake up and say, "Good God, morning." So you change the God part and everything changes. Related to this, I sometimes hear people say, "For the love of God." And they express such negativity, right? For the love of God, why don't you understand this? For the love of God, just put your signal on when you turn. Right? For that idea of for the love of God. But see how it's a Vedantic swear word. There's no development that comes with it. But I really like that meaning, for the love of God. What we do we do it for the love of God? Do we go to work for the love of God? Do we come back from work for the love of God? Are you here for the love of God? Do I speak for the love of God? Because if it's not for the love of God, then we're never going to reach He. We're never going to get to be Avanaprastha. We'll never get to Shastra Kripa. For the love of God, spirituality is not an action. It is the vision behind what actions? All actions. Spirituality is a vision behind all actions. We make our idea of spirituality very confined. Best example of this is during Deepavali, when we have our Deepavali parties. We have one party with our friends, one party with our work friends, one party with our Chinmaya Mission friends, one party with our real friends. Right? We have so many parties because there's so much division. But what should happen is that we should have the vision that these are all friends. Whether they like each other or not, doesn't matter. To treat them in the same way. That vision behind all action. So spirituality, a karma, it is a darshana. Yatha drishti tatha srishti. As your vision, so is creation. If you wake up miserable, and that day's, when you're getting onto the highway and people have stopped to let you go in, Maharaja, please, you go. Someone brought you a hot coffee because they got one too. Has that person stopped to let you in on the highway? Hey, stop being so unsafe. That coffee's too hot. See how that misery just gets projected onto all. But if you woke up and said, "Good morning, God," then if someone cuts you off on the highway, someone bought everyone coffee but you. I'm fasting today, doesn't matter. But it's all dependent on your vision. And that's what's being shared here is we need to look after the roots of this tree. Forget about the leaves and the branches and the tree, but the roots of that tree. The root of that tree is God, is Bhagavan. And serving Bhagavan, serving God, serving these roots has to be in all our actions for the love of God. What would we call this using chapter 4 terminology? Chapter 4 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, not this Niti Shastra. Yajna. What does yajna mean? What does yajna mean? No? In English, we describe it as sacrifice. So, question for all of you. What comes first, sacrifice or dedication? Dedication or sacrifice? So I'm playing with your minds now. In one place, I was asking everyone, how many purusharthas do we have? And I put my hands like this, and they all went, 7. And I was like, there's 4, but if I put these fingers up, all of a sudden everything changes. In English, we say yajna is sacrifice, but if you think about it, sacrifice only comes because of dedication. Unless you're dedicated, why would you sacrifice? So yajna means dedication. And in chapter 4, Bhagavan gives so many beautiful ways to live dedicatedly. And one of them, and you'll love this, is to treat the sense objects as the offering and the sense organs as the offered to. The dravya and the agni. So why is that amazing? Because if you can envision that, the next time you go to see a movie, the sense objects, those names and forms, are going into the fire, which is the eyes. So then that whole experience goes from entertainment to sadhana. I'm telling you, you can go see movies and purify your mind. But you have to have that drishti. With this drishti, every breath you take can be a moment of purification. That's amazing. And so our sadhana for this, and I'd say one more point related to this. Earlier, some of us were talking about the difference between materials and materialism. What's the difference? The M. What is the difference between materials and materialism? What's the difference? Essentially, dependency. Materialism is I'm dependent on this material. But materials are not a problem in any sense. Having a cell phone, having a 5,000 square foot home, having a 2-carat diamond ring, whatever. It literally doesn't matter. As long as you don't depend on that for completion. And otherwise, if I depend on this rock for completion, that's materialism. You can have an actual rock, and then I can have this rock. And if you don't depend on that rock, and I depend on this rock, I'm materialistic and you're not. And this is important because sannyasa is the garb of the mind and not the garb of the body. Where does renunciation take place? In your vision. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage naike amritatvamana. It doesn't say you have to renounce karma or praja or dhana. What is being shared is to renounce the dependency on karma, on family, on possessions. That dependency you created inside. So where does it have to be let go? You have to uncreate that. And so the sadhana for this third shloka, before you begin any significant activity in your day, say outwards, inwards, Om Shivaya Samarpayami. You turn your ignition on, Om Shivaya Samarpayami. You're getting something from the vending machine, Om Shivaya Samarpayami. You're about to get into an argument, Om Shivaya Samarpayami. Keep dedicating all those significant activities and the best in you will be brought out. And do it mechanically initially. What did Ratnakara starts chanting initially? Mara, die or died. And what happened to him? He became known as the Adi Kavi, the original poet. He started mechanically, so just do it mechanically. Om Shivaya Samarpayami. I'm choosing Shivaya because it's short. And we're in Bhagavan Shiva's home. I can't say, okay, Om Ganeshaya Samarpayami when his father's right, right there. This reminds me of a story. A young man from, let's pick a city, Chennai. He got a scholarship to do his master's at Berkeley. And after he completed his master's, then he was looking for employment, but it wasn't happening. And in this struggle, his parents, who were still in Chennai, they said, you should worship the remover of obstacles, Vigneshwara. So they mailed him a murti, a small murti of Bhagavan Ganesha. So he set it up in his room, and that morning he's pretending like he knows what he's doing. But the feeling is there, you know. He has some fruits, he has a diya, he has agarbatti, and he's praying to Bhagavan Ganesha. You know, my visa's about to expire, I need to get a new visa, otherwise I'm going to have to go back and live with my parents. So, and he's praying. First week, nothing. Second week, nothing. Third week, nothing. And he's complaining to his parents, you know, this murti you said, this is not working. And he was so frustrated one day, he was so dejected, that he went to a Buddhist store in San Jose, and he went and bought Bhagavan Ganesha's boss. He went and got a murti of Bhagavan Shiva. And he took Bhagavan Ganesha and put him in the corner, and he set up Bhagavan Shiva's idol. He said, your son can't do anything for me. Even though he has big ears, he's not hearing what I'm saying. Only you can get me this job and keep me in this country. So he's offering his prayers to Bhagavan Shiva. And when it came to offering dhupa, agarbatti, he's offering this dhupa, but the dhupa is going to Bhagavan Ganesha. So he's perplexed, so he kind of starts pushing his hand there, you know, directing the dhupa into Bhagavan Shiva's nasal area. But still, it's like going through his fingers to Bhagavan Ganesha. So he kind of blocks it with his body, you know, and he's just offering that, that dhupa. But still going around his body, he's super dejected. He goes to his medicine cabinet and gets some cotton. And he goes over to Bhagavan Ganesha's trunk and sticks it in his trunk. This is not for you. This is for your father. And he comes back to Bhagavan Ganesha, Shiva, and who's waiting? Bhagavan Ganesha. And Bhagavan Ganesha is there in his full, form, and he says, "Son, what can I do for you?" And he's just so stunned. He said, "For weeks I was praying to you, and now all of a sudden I put cotton in your nose, and here you are asking what boon you can give to me? Why?" And Bhagavan Ganesha says, "Because only today you believed I was real." Isn't it? For 3 weeks that was just a picture to him, but he felt Bhagavan Ganesha's reality, so much so that he put that in his nose. And in him feeling Bhagavan Ganesha's reality, Bhagavan Ganesha is there, but he couldn't see him. Even today, I know people who live in the Vrindavan area that can still hear Lord Krishna's flute. We can too. We just have to listen carefully enough. We have to be quiet enough. Om Shivaya Samarpayami. Whether you dedicate it to him or not, it's for him anyways. You may as well wake up to reality and dedicate it to him. There was once an amazing king. His name was Rahim. And he was so generous, Danavida. And every time people would come to him, as the king, he would sit in his throne and he would give people like this. And this is around Tulsidasji's time. So Tulsidasji wrote him a letter saying, "Why? You're the king, you're above all, but you make everyone else above you." And this Rahim writes back to him. And it's such an awesome dialogue. They write in chopais. Like they're rapping, but it's so sattvic. And what Rahim writes is, the dhata is above, but everyone thinks I'm the dhata, and in my shame I look down. That the real giver is Bhagavan, correct? But everyone thinks I'm the giver, so that's shameful for me to even think that I'm the giver. That's what it means to make He our purpose. And if you can live with that purpose, just imagine your performance. I sometimes think about just Puja Swami Chinmayananda. That one person, you know how long he studied with Puja Swami Tabovanam? He came in 49. I don't know exactly what month, but we do know he left in 51. He started speaking in December of 51. So the most he could have been there was for 2 years. 2 years is all. And from 1951 to now, we're in 2017. Next year, his body would have died 25 years ago. But just look at what has been created. He said, in one circumstance, someone had asked him, "Swamiji, what will you feel if Chinmaya Mission doesn't carry on like it's carrying on while you're alive?" What was his response? "I don't care if Chinmaya Mission burns down while I'm alive." Because, and see the point, he wasn't working for an organization, nor for Sanatana Dharma only. He was working for humanity. Correct? Humanity means he. He wasn't working for we either. But if he's working for he, we are included in that. I'm trying to show you the reality of all of this. Some of you have met Swami Chinmayananda. How many of you have physically met Swami Chinmayananda? What's amazing and sad is that every year that number will go down, correct? Here's San Jose, where he came almost every year, and there's hardly 10 people. I physically never met him before. I think about my own life. Someone I've never physically met in my entire life, and here all I do is live for him. And it's not I'm some uneducated person. You may think so, but technically I'm not an uneducated person. Possible Om Shivaya Samarpayami. Sanatana Dharma is great. We say you can take Bhagavan's name even in a negative way. Right? Like Shishupal. His is called Vairi Bhakti. We even call it, that's Bhakti. Treating God as your enemy, that's devotion. Ravana, Vairi Bhakti. Amazing. And really, Shishupal went to Bhagavan Krishna. Ravana went to Bhagavan Rama. Too many stories. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, Vivek, keep moving. I'm on chapter 8, shloka 10. Our last shloka for today. It's a lashing shloka. Tough love. Nagnihotram vina veda, na cha danam vina kriya, na bhavena vina siddhaha, tasmad bhavo hi karanam. And simple meaning here. Agnihotra, it's a ritual. Na Agnihotra, it is not a karma if vina veda. It is not a karma if you're not following the Veda. In other words, if you don't know what you're doing nothing. Na danam. It's not danam, vina kriya. It's not called charity unless you actually give. I'm thinking about giving. That's not charity. That's what's being here. Is it said here? Now don't we the same? I'm going to be patient with this person. But unless you're patient, it's not called patience. Kriya. Na bhavena vina siddhaha. Without purity, there's no bhakti. Just because one's memorized all of Vishnu Sahasranama, that doesn't mean that's bhakti. But we're intimidated by that, isn't it? I'm chanting Vishnu Sahasranama perfectly, but I keep looking back. Did you hear me? When Swami Chinmaya had international family camps in Siddhabari, he spoke in English. And Swami Tejomayananda was teaching the Vedanta course at the time. And Swami Chinmayananda said, everyone has to go to Swami Tejomayananda's Ramayana class in Hindi. And many of those English speakers said, they didn't say anything because they would never say anything to Swami Chinmayananda, but they showed, their disbelief. And he said, I know many of you don't understand Hindi, but every once in a while you will understand a word. And what is that word? Ram. What other words are important in Ramayana other than Ram? Ravana. Can't wait to hear Ravana. But it's fascinating. That's what we want to do. Imagine all of us had to enact Ramayana. You know which role people would want to play the most? Ravana. Think about Balavar plays, right? I would love to be Hiranyakashipu. I don't want to be Prahlad. And we do this consciously, we do this subconsciously. In one place, I was speaking on manashodhanam, purity of mind. And in this, I was talking about signs of impurity of mind. I was giving tips for unhappy living. And some of the tips I gave were, if you want to be unhappy, take everything as personally as possible. I guarantee you unhappiness. Another was, ignore what you have and expect what you don't have. And at the end of the discourse, when there's question and reflection time, nobody asked me questions on manashodhanam. They're like, give us more tips for unhappy living. And I thought, you already know them. You're living them. Why do you want me to talk about them? We love asking questions about Maya, but do we ask any questions about Brahman? So here, without purity, there is no bhakti. So tasmad bhavaha hi karanam. What should you work on? Bhavaha. In other words, that feeling, that connection is what you should work on. What does this mean for us? Unless your intellect is backing your actions, what are you actually doing? Say it. What are you doing? Nothing. Unless your intention is you are doing this for family, community, society, humanity, we are doing nothing. It's like eating empty calories. It may seem like, look how much I'm eating, but is it doing anything? It's doing nothing. So see these shlokas. In the first shloka I was talking about, speak to Bhagavan. In other words, try to see what Bhagavan sees. The next was, speak positively. Try to see Bhagavan all around you. The next was, don't just speak positively, dedicate what you're doing to Bhagavan. And now many of us, we've been studying Vedanta for so long, we've been part of Chinmaya Mission for so long. Are you growing? Are you the person you want to be or forecasted to be? And I hope so, I pray so. But if not, I'm putting this shloka in again from this Niti Shastra. Unless there is a feeling to what you're doing, we are just engaged in the karma kanda. Vedanta, Chinmaya, it's all jnana based, but what are we actually doing? Karma. But it's worse because we think we're doing jnana. See, if you accept, I'm engaged in the karma, then you can grow from there. But if you're thinking that you're doing karma, but you're thinking you're doing jnana, but it's karma, then we don't listen to anyone. Right? It's a dangerous way to live. The way that our Bhagavad Gita course teaches this is that Dharma has to be in karma. Dharma in karma. What will that lead you to? Brahma. See, we're at He, and we have to go to Be. Be is infinity. And we see this visually. Across from Bhagavan Shiva, who is traditionally there? Nandi. Nandi symbolizes Dharma. Shiva symbolizes Brahma. Now, what are the subjects of the Veda? Karma Kanda teaches Dharma, doesn't it? Jnana Kanda teaches Brahma. You have to go through the Karma Kanda and grow up to get to the Jnana Kanda. That's only if you're riding Dharma can you be led to Brahma, correct? But if you're not riding Dharma, what Brahma then? And Guruji says, we all campaign for Brahman, but vote for Maya. I know I shouldn't say but. How to check yourself if there's actually Dharma in your karma. Here's the check. That you are developing a love for life. If you're feeling, see, it's a feeling, it's a bhava. If you're feeling a love for life, you are getting to He. You're making He your purpose. Society, humanity, you don't care for recognition. You don't care for reciprocity. You just care for life because you love it. Do you love life? Most of us are just looking for more opportunities to sleep. See, if you want to realize your dreams, you have to be awake. And if you love life, you'll sleep less in a poetic way. Right? Do you love life? And only if you love life are you living. If you do not love life, you're alive, but you're not living. The way that this can be looked at is, in some homes I go to, as soon as I walk in, there's a nice staircase, and in the crevice of that staircase is a sitar. Opened or covered with a sheet, and I ask, who plays the sitar? It's a nice decoration, isn't it? Just because you own a sitar doesn't make you a sitarist. Just because we're breathing doesn't mean that we're living. And should I prove it to you? I've read too many studies that share the average child laughs how many times a day? Give me some numbers. 5, 10, 50, 100? Anyone? Price is right? We'll keep going. Higher, lower? The average child laughs 300 times a day. Now, if you think of a child, they're sleeping for many of those hours, so it's high concentration of they're awake and they're laughing. What's my next question? You've already laughed more than you do a day. How many times a day does a typical adult laugh? How many times a day do you laugh? And you're all considered adults too. 5? 50? Anyone to go lower? We laugh 15 times a day. And we're awake longer. So it's more diluted. For every 20 times a child laughs, we laugh once. And that too is probably like just a political laugh. You know? You know, sign the deal. You're hilarious, you know? No bhavaha. I was in one place and I asked this question and someone goes, did negative numbers count? See, if you love life, you laugh. It's one indicator of that. Naturally laugh, not laughing gas, not or laughing clubs. You just laugh because you feel that divinity. If you look at Bhagavan Rama, in Bhagavan Rama's family picture that we see, the Ram Darbar, his feet are straight, his legs are straight, his chest is high, his chin is straight. He's holding his profession with him. And there's Mother Sita kind of looking towards him, you know, head like this, and Sri Lakshmana's like this, but he's straight. Usually if there's a couple, they're kind of leaning towards each other, but he's straight. But then if you look at Bhagavan Krishna, feet are crooked, knees are crooked, hip is crooked. Not curved. Here I am talking about Bhagavan Krishna, so crooked. Elbows are curved, neck is curved, smile is curved, eyes are curved, peacock feathers are curved. But both of them are smiling. Bhagavan Rama showing if what's coming at you is straight, smile. And if what's coming at you is curved, smile. Which leads me to our sadhana. Our sadhana is... I often thought about what would the world be better for if certain items weren't present. Like I was thinking, imagine a world without bullets. There'd be a lot less death then. And I often also thought about, imagine a world without mirrors. The world would be a lot less vain, right? But it seems like there's more bullets and more mirrors. I should stop wishing for them to go away. So our sadhana is every time you see yourself in a mirror, you need to smile. You need to smile. Even if people are around, you have to smile more than. They may not know what you're thinking about. They may be afraid of you. Smile at that also. But when you see yourself in a mirror, smile. And you'll really make this real when you start it. Because the first time, it may be awkward, like an awkward silence, but the more you do it, the more you'll look past one's skin to something deeper. You'll feel that depth. So smile in a mirror. So now a very quick review. I've given you 12 sadhanas now. These practices are trying to make Chanakya's do's and don'ts more real. Chanakya's do's and don'ts are trying to make Srimad Bhagavad Gita more real. So without reading, what are our 12 sadhanas? Sadhana number 1, freedom walk, and we'll keep it simple. Okay, freedom walk, number 1. Number 2, use a planner. Number 3, read an inspiring book. Number 4, review what you learned every day. That was the first discourse. Second discourse, first sadhana, or number 5. What was the sadhana from this morning? Every season have a growth forecast. So spring is coming up, summer, use those seasons as a reminder. Number 6, give in measures. So today, I think someone's birthday, so I'm also going to be asking for Guru Dakshina today, so perfect. Number 7. Weekly development. You're already doing daily development. We're also presently doing monthly development, but weekly development. So study group, 90 minutes. Number 8. A meal by yourself. How many of you ate a meal by yourself today? Okay, good. Every day a meal by yourself. Number 9. Now we're focusing on what I just talked about. What's the 9th sadhana? Speak to Bhagavan. Number 10. Speak positively. Number 11. What's number 11? Om Shivaya Samarpayami. And number 12? Every time you see your reflection, not just a mirror, water, window, that's when you should smile. In one place, this gentleman was so sincere, the sadhana was, don't look in a mirror. And so before he used his computer, he would shake the mouse. Right? Because that black screen, you see yourself. That's great vigilance. So smile every time you see a mirror. Now we're completing thoughts. We all have 3 vasanas that pull us down. And those vasanas are Deha Vasana, Loka Vasana, and the one I'm going to emphasize now is, what's the last vasana? Shastra Vasana. We have this inclination towards studying. And I'm using vasana here because we love to listen. And we pat ourselves on the back for listening. But Shravanam is only the beginning of these inner disciplines. And part of it is not our fault. So many times we hear from speakers that all you need to do is Shravanam. But think about the environment that they're talking about. If you live in an ashram, if you're in a controlled environment, that Shravanam is effective just by sheer volume, by sheer quantity, that Shravanam becomes Mananam. But we don't live in an ashram. We don't live in a controlled environment. You can't focus on quantity, you need to focus on quality. That Shravanam has to evolve to Mananam. Let go of this Shastra Vasana, and it's more precarious now because there's so many audio recordings floating around. YouTube has endless talks. And you stream, and you just keep going on and on and on. And here I am, I listen to all of this and feel this is what I need to do. I'm growing. And if you're in a controlled environment, yes, but we're not. So, when you hear this, Shravanam is enough, is it enough for you? When you use toothpaste, it says if you're under whatever age, you have to use a pea-sized amount. You can't just say everyone use the same amount of toothpaste. Everyone's bodies are different. In the same way, everyone's lifestyles are different. Shravanam is not enough. And if you think it is, that Shastra Vasana has got you. And it's a very difficult Vasana to let go because we justify. Acharya Gauranga had shared, we all have PhDs in justification. We can justify our position to the end, right? Be vigilant. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om